Dr. Katie Schneller. Yes.
Kelly Peterman.
And Kelly Peterman. I'm Stephanie Buckland. This is the Holistic Health Coaching panel discussion. We actually had one panelist who was not able to join us tonight. She got severely ill. She was hoping to dial in, but it's looking like it's not so good tonight. So it's going to be the two of them and your charming leader. And we have lots of people joining us tonight from all over the place. Just super cool. We have, honestly, all these people on the screen here are all over the United States. So this is the coolest part about being an online club is that we get to connect with the ASU online students that are anywhere in the world. So with that, I'm gonna have to hold my phone the whole time.
You hold it while you talk.
Down, and hopefully stay on the screen. So we have a list of questions, and I'm going to have the ladies introduce themselves first. So before we get started, I wanted to let you all know on the computers that you can post your questions in the chat, and I'll read them to them as we get to that point. Once we're done with the line of questions that we have here, we're going to go ahead and open it up to the audience to ask questions. And at that point, if you'd like to interject, turn your mute off, and be a part of the conversation, that's cool too. So with that, who wants to go first?
I'll go.
So please share your name, how long you've been a practitioner, and who is your primary audience? Who you serve?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm Dr. Katie Schneller. I'm based out of Chandler, Arizona. I am a naturopathic doctor, and the people that I primarily treat tend to be women, but they are anyone really. My specialties include pain and stress management. I also work a lot with the LGBTQ population. Thank you. It's a wicked echo going on over here. Hard to think about what I was saying. Yeah, and so just, you know, anyone who comes in and hasn't had blood work done in a while, and sometimes we reveal that they have something that they need to work with. Luckily, we're trained as primary care physicians, so we can treat a wide range of issues.
Hey everybody online and in our room. I'm Kelly Peterman. I don't know who to look at. Did you look at the screen? Okay. I'm Kelly Peterman, and I'm an integrative nutrition health coach and a national board certified health and wellness coach.
That's okay.
Do you do that? No. We're out of time. I graduated from school about 2.5 years ago, and I passed the board exam just earlier this, or 2019. We're in 2020 now. It was in 2019, early on. And I typically work with women anywhere from ages 30 to 50 a lot of times. And we mostly focus on helping those women get over yo-yo dieting and binge eating issues, just working on their relationship with food and kind of their body image and how they treat and love themselves. So that is my tidbit.
Awesome. Okay. Mute myself and unmute myself.
So just turn the volume down?
It won't let me.
Oh, okay.
So let's see. What drew you to your practice originally? Looking back to when you first decided to become what you are today, and why did you decide to pursue this?
Naturopathic medicine was something that I didn't know existed. I'm from Indiana, and a lot of our medicine there is still allopathic. So, by the way, that's the difference. You think of a regular doctor, and if they have MD credentials, that's considered allopathic doctor, and we are naturopathic doctors, ND. But I didn't know that it existed. I just saw that there was a need. A lot of the Midwest's culture involves overeating, involves comfort foods, involves lack of exercise. Indiana itself is landlocked, so there wasn't anybody, you know, swimming in any oceans because they weren't there. You know, no mountains, very flat landscape. So I graduated with a neuroscience degree and thought that I was going into research, and at the last minute, the program didn't happen, and I had all my eggs in that basket. So I was really freaked out about what I was going to do, and I Googled natural medicine, and then I found the website for naturopathic medicine, all of the schools in the United States for that, and I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, because I knew that I always wanted to be in the healthcare field, but I didn't want to practice the type of medicine that we have now. I didn't want anyone telling me how long I could see my patients for or what I could treat them for, and so I guess I was a little obstinate, but I found something that I liked, and I came to Arizona for naturopathic medicine because we have the widest scope here. We're trained in Chinese medicine, which a lot of schools aren't. You need to do a dual degree in order to get trained in that. Chinese medicine is acupuncture, for those that don't know. We also learn homeopathy and botanical medicine. We do nutrition. We learn physical medicine, adjustments like chiropractors, and a lot of other modalities as well, including, how to look at lab values and determine not only is something normal, but is it optimal for you and your age and your body type and your family history, all that stuff. So we're very comprehensive doctors, and that's really what I like about this field.
Okay, so I did not have a history in health and wellness, really. I just always loved it. And I was working in a corporate job, cubicle job, high stress in the mortgage industry. And my now husband, we were dating at the time, we would talk about just how miserable I was, which if any of you have had a job like that, you understand how much it sucks the life out of you. And so we would just sit down and kind of talk about what do I want to do kind of with my life and with my career. And thinking back over kind of my history, I have a long history of eating disorders. I had to go through a lot of healing from a lot of different stuff in life. So I was, thinking I could go into counseling, I could go become a dietitian. I had huge interest in both of those areas. I just really didn't want to go back and do the heavy amount of schooling, and just kind of started Googling, what kind of job is going to let me help people and also include, health, wellness, fitness, this sort of thing, and realized that health coaching was a thing. So I had no clue, kind of similar, and quit my corporate job and enrolled in school.
Nice. Okay. Well, so we have another little technical snafu here. Zoom is a free service. And with that free service, we get 40 minutes of recording time. Basically what that means is for the people that are online, what we're going to do is log off and log back in. That is my best workaround for right now. The club at this point has no funding, so we can't invest in the software to make this possible for an hour and a half. Unfortunately, we only get 40 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and take a little second, a little breather. We're going to log out and log back in. Same link, same password, same everything, okay? So, sorry guys.
Of course.
Patients don't tend to come in and ask for that genetic testing. We can test for specific things like the MTHFR specific mutations. We can test your blood for to see if you have that. But in general, if you come in showing like, hey, here's my, like where my ancestors are from, that doesn't really give us much. There's only like a handful of diseases that are more prone to specific populations. So for example, the Ashkenazi Jews have a higher incidence of a number of diseases for some reason. So if you came in with that, I'd be like, okay, well, these are things for me to be aware of, and maybe we will test for these. But outside of that, more what we're focused on when we ask about your family history is what your mother, father, siblings, any health conditions they have, grandparents on both sides as well, about any health conditions, if they're deceased, what they died of, and that gives us sort of a clue about what your genetic predisposition might be. But as always, it's not, it's never a death sentence. Epigenetically, we can alter our genes through how we treat our bodies and, the environments that we're in. So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna keep rolling. We are recording again, and we're back online just like that. So, my next question is about practicing with those allopathic doctors or in an allopathic setting. So, you both of them probably have different perspectives on how you work with an MD, if you work with an MD. So, I'd like to hear from both of you on that perspective, like how you work in a hospital setting or a cancer care setting or a hospice setting, or would you, as a practitioner, that is something maybe in the future that you would consider?
I have not worked with an MD in the same location. There have been times where patients of mine are seeing doctors of other modalities, and sometimes we are forced to educate the other physician or whatever practitioner they are about what we do and what our level of education is, because some people still think that naturopathic medicine is, witchcraft, and it's definitely not. It's 4 years of medical school, same as them. It's just that we learn pharmaceuticals as well as all of the natural modalities, and we're trained to identify and treat the cause of your symptoms instead of just palliating. So sometimes we have to sort of prove ourselves, which is difficult. And so, to answer the question, I would consider working in facilities like that. I think integrative medicine is the way of the future, and there's a time and a place for both. It's just a matter of, at one point DOs did this with MDs, and now DOs are considered equivalent. And, whether, I don't think we need to be the same as them, but respected at least. Unfortunately, we have to prove a little bit of that right now.
Yes, great.
I also have not worked with an MD. Probably not a major plan in the future. Health and wellness coaching, you can have a lot of different niche areas, and so I think my focus of kind of helping women stop yo-yo dieting and emotional eating and that sort of thing. At best, I could maybe line up with people that are doing weight loss surgery and try to help overcome the actual food issues that go along with that, or partner with a counselor type person, which would be a whole different path.
Okay, awesome.
Let's see. So the next question is about business partnerships. Do you have any relationships with holistic or quantum practitioners in your office?
So I just switched offices, but the office that I was in before, we had a massage therapist, and that's pretty much it. Everybody else were naturopathic physicians, and in this new office that I'm in, it's just 2 naturopathic doctors, and we will be bringing in a massage therapist. We also have been looking for a counselor, though. We do a lot of mind-body, but to have somebody in there who's really, that's their focus, is all the mental, emotional pieces, is going to be a big deal once we're able to get that person in.
That's great. I really don't have a lot of partnerships. My business has been, it's my own business run out of my home, so there is no office to have other people, and then I slowly am building a referral list as far as someone like a naturopath or counselors to refer to. So yeah, not a whole lot to offer with these 2 questions.
Yeah. Sorry, team.
Okay, is this business your primary source of income? And if so, what steps did you take to build your business? This is a career development focus, so think about how did you navigate that first 2 months of business? What did you do? What were the challenges with that? And what were the little successes that you celebrated?
Well, when we graduate, we have to study for boards, so you're not practicing medicine. You have to make sure that you pass in order to be able to practice. after you pass, you're like, okay, what now? You try everything, and you see what works, and you work with the resources that you have. So me personally, I have a business coach who's also a naturopathic doctor, and he works like at a basically, you know, we meet once a week, and he helps me develop what my events are going to be and the resources that I have right now, which are time and energy. And if money were a resource, then I would put more efforts into, you know, paying for social media, like Facebook marketing, ads, all that stuff. For now, it's just the free posting that I can do. I do some of that on social media. A plug. It's called Inclusive Natural Medicine. Feel free to follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Shameless. And let's see. Other things that I do are random events like this. So you meet people everywhere. You don't have to be extroverted in order to introduce yourself and you know, form connections with people. I do a number of things that are extracurricular, and you know, sit on a few boards and do what I have to do in order to make ends meet. So this is my primary source of income. Naturopathic medicine is, I work in 2 locations in Chandler and in Old Town. And I have a few other little tiny side gigs. Like I work at a yoga studio, and it helps me give back to my yoga studio. I get a discounted membership, so mutual benefits there. Yeah, that's the biggest things. Yeah.
This is also my primary source of income now. It definitely was not upon graduation. When I graduated 2.5 years ago, it was a really slow influx of clients. A lot of times, for a lot of you in these fields, it's going to be people that you know that are kind of your first round, and then it's going to be referrals. And as Katie and I were talking, then it becomes social media. Guys, in the beginning, you just have to hustle. If you are going to own your own business, frankly, I would do like the research before choosing kind of what path you're going down, if you're going to work for somebody else or own your own business, because it is more than you ever know it's going to be, and it's challenging. A lot of us get into this field of like health, wellness, holistic health, and you just want to help people. You have zero intention of marketing yourself, and a lot of us don't know how to do that. I was super blessed with my education that, you know, part of it was coaching, part of it was nutrition, and then part of it was business, which a lot of schools do not offer. So I at least got my foot in the door. I'm not a business mindset. I'm an art major. So it gave me this, you know, groundwork. And then I've always worked part-time up until the last few months. I finally went full-time with coaching. And just like Katie, I have business coaches. You have to have mentors. There's a lot to it that you don't realize. And I will say, honestly, owning my own business, I've never worked so hard. So I think the big word is hustle. And just like Katie said too, like you just take every opportunity that comes your way, especially in the beginning, because you don't know who you're going to meet, and you do meet people everywhere. There's networking opportunities all over the place. So you just got to get your feet wet. You can't be scared, and you got to go for it.
Don't get discouraged too.
Yeah.
You know, with our type of medicine coaching, with what we do, yeah, in our industry, it's all cash-based pay, right? So that's a particular demographic, and there are people that will say that they're interested in getting care, and they really are, but they just can't afford it. And if that's the situation, then that's okay, and it's not about you. And when I had a few like cancellations, you know, people wouldn't say why, but I kind of had the feeling that it was probably due to the upfront cost that it takes to see a naturopathic doctor. You know, I did get discouraged at first. I was like, what is wrong with me? Why don't people want to like keep care? Is this happening to other doctors? And it totally does. It happens to everybody. And if they're not ready, then you're not going to have a successful relationship with them anyway. You know, in both our fields, it's a partnership and a relationship, and you know, it's two ways. I can only tell you what I think to a certain point, and if you're not ready to implement changes, or something doesn't sound good or doesn't sound feasible to you, then we work together and identify what we can do, but we can't force you. I think we have a question.
Let's see.
We
So
probably lost all the first set of
Kelly said, actually, it was back and forth
Okay.
communication about the text work. Kelly said, I'm in Kelly's position, hating my corporate job and looking to jump ship. I'm currently evaluating programs for holistic nutrition and wellness coaching. Any advice on selecting a program and where to go to school?
Hi, Kelly. Yes, so I definitely know your pain. I think it's great that you're asking the questions because doing your research is key. I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. It's an all online based school. And that was, I mean, at this point, almost a while ago. I feel like the health and wellness coaching has exploded. There are so many programs now. A lot of colleges are offering degrees in it now. So I'm probably a little behind all the new stuff, but I will say go to the National Board's site, the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching, and they have a list of approved programs. If you do not take a program that's approved by them, you cannot sit for the National Board exam. It's not required to be board certified yet, but it will be down the road. So do yourself a favor with all the time and money that you're going to spend and pick a program that's on that list so you can sit for the exam as soon as you graduate. And then you just really have to ask yourself, what area do you need the most help in? If you need something that's all coaching based, the coach that's not here tonight because she's sick went to Mayo Clinic. Mayo Clinic has an incredible program. It is pretty much all coaching based with a little bit of nutrition. A program like I went through offered that, third set or third area of business help. If you already know the business stuff, then don't worry about it. Or you have to just consider all those things. You can find a program for coaching. You can find a program for nutrition. You can find a program for business. So it just depends. Do you want it all in one? Do you want to do separates? And what do you need? But the best advice is go to the National Board's website and find that approved program.
Well, she said I never got one to New York. And
Oh,
my list.
yep.
Yeah.
New York. Tuition goes up March 1st, so go sign up now if you're doing that one.
If you're unhappy,
Also,
get out.
I wanted to
Share, if I can get my mute off. I wanted to share that ASU has a healthy lifestyle coaching program, and a few of the people that have logged in tonight are actually in that program
Oh, that's cool.
through ASU.
And do you know how long that program's been around?
I don't
I think
know
it's pretty
how
new.
long.
I don't remember it.
Hi, this is Karen. I coordinate the program for, and we've been.
We lost you, Karen.
Karen, you want to try typing in the chat? We can't hear you. Technological challenges.
Yeah.
I was talking to Janet earlier about her not being able to make it, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm expecting a few snap days. We're in the middle of Mercury retrograde right now. Not surprised.
I graduated from ASU Healthy Lifestyle Coaching Program in December 2019. Wait, that's L. Smith.
Okay, so we've got a live one.
I have a few that have been.
And I don't know if ASU is approved.
They are accredited. In
Perfect.
fact, their program is geared towards the board certification.
Perfect, so you do it.
The training for the boards, which
Yeah.
is awesome.
Hi, Stephanie. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Karen. I'm sorry. I was working in my class, my coaching class, so I was driving home, so I had some problems hearing you. But I did hear that you were talking about the integrated nutrition program, and ASU has been approved since 2015 as part of the national board, and I actually participated in the creation of the exam with the national board, and we have about 132 graduates, and of those, I believe 20-some is the final number of the students that have become national board certified. So the difference between a lot of the other programs is this is an academic program. So there's a bachelor's attached to the certification. Whereas a lot of other programs like the Integrative Health, it's meant for people like your panelists who have a different career and want to change career paths, and so then they become natural health and wellness coaches. So, and that's a lot of the difference. She's right. There's a lot of them out there. Mayo has one, ASU has one. I believe there's like about 9 academic institutions, and then there's a whole bunch of private institutions that offer certificates.
What's funny is that ASU has awesome HLC instructors.
That's good to know.
That's for you, Karen.
Yeah, and our program is expanding actually, and we are actually seeking for national board certified instructors. So I will potentially reach out to you ladies to see if there's any interest to you in teaching in our program.
Feel free, Karen.
I will. I needed to put that plug in there.
Yeah. Plugs all over the place.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for being here tonight and talking about the profession and your experiences. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Honor.
listening.
Thank you, Karen. Okay, so if coaching were not or if your primary business wasn't your primary
Oh, wow, it smells delicious. Hola.
So for Katie, while you were preparing for your board exams, what was your source of income?
No, yeah, you had to make sure you had enough student loans to live off of.
Right, yeah. And so you said it took a while for you to.
Yeah, so I quit my my corporate job and just thankfully had a nice savings from doing that job. So I just went to work part-time at Sprouts, if anybody, in the vitamin department, because I thought that was fun to learn about all the supplements, and it was kind of a nice addition. And then I did kind of a personal training job on the side as well. So I've just always had something, I guess, in health and fitness to help pay the bills.
Okay. So my last question is, do you have any suggestions for those who might be interested in becoming a wellness coach or naturopathic physician? So
Be sure, because I'm sure no matter what program you're in, it will test you. It was the hardest 4 years, and a lot of us have like some pretty rough upbringing, but that was really, really hard. It's in naturopathic medical school, you take between 25 and 30 credit hours a quarter. That means you graduate with the equivalent of a bachelor's degree every year. It's an enormous amount of information. And so you need to really have your why clear. And what I mean is, maybe even write yourself a letter before you enter a program or before you start looking for programs, and do your research. Make sure that what you graduate with helps you do what you want to do. Don't accidentally take even a few months of school or something at the wrong place and be like, oh, I didn't realize I wasn't going to be able to practice law if I studied holistic coaching. Make sure that you know what's going on and shadow people. Figure out what you want to do, find someone in your area that does it and shadow them, and make sure that that's actually what you want to do, because sometimes when you get down to it and you see people's day-to-day, it's not what you think it's going to be. So for naturopathic medicine, be real sure, because it's 4 years of your life, if not 5. There are 5-year programs, and really have your purpose, what you want to do, what fulfills you, what you're passionate about, really clear, because you're going to have to go back to that in those really hard moments, and there will be plenty, because while you're going in school, life doesn't stop. Other things still happen. People go through relationship changes and deaths and births and all sorts of things, and you have to keep up with school at the same time. So just love it, I guess.
I would agree. You have to really be sure about what you're doing. Coaching is definitely not as intense of schooling, guys. So if you want an easier path here.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is it's really introspective. You have to do a lot of your own self-work, not just on like your physical health, but it's also mental and emotional health. I feel like when I came out of school, I was worse off with my health than when I went in, because you learn so many different types of ways to eat and take care of yourself, and you almost just leave with your head spinning and you don't even know what to do anymore. So that you really need to do your research, kind of what we touched on before. You know, do you want to work for someone else? Do you want to run your own company? Finding the right program that's going to fit your needs. There's just so many to choose from, and then kind of knowing what your long-term goal is going to be so that you can be working toward that. I used to always think that I kind of regretted my school choice, but at the end of the day, I really don't, because it's gotten me where I am now. So I think too, you just have to really be ready to work really hard for what you want. And for that, you have to want it bad enough. So make sure you're passionate about it, and make sure that you go into an area that you could just talk about all day long and you never get tired of it.
Another thing that I thought of is looking at how much the average salary is when you graduate versus how much debt you go into in order to study the program. Naturopathic medicine is ridiculously expensive, and it's really tough to make a lot of money, especially at first. Maybe not eventually, you know, maybe not 5, 6, 10 years in, but those first few years you're really kicking butt and you've got all that student debt. So once you figure out what you want to do, figure out which degree will get you there, and which schools are the best, and whether you can afford the program. And by the time you get out and you're working in the field, can you reasonably pay off that, or are you going to sort of drown in debt? And you know, everybody's got some debt, mostly. It's not that big of a deal. It doesn't get transferred, you know, once you leave this realm, but it can feel oppressive. So look into pricing, of course, too, and how much money you make when you're done.
And you did have a good point, Katie, like shadow somebody that's doing what you think you want to do. I know before I enrolled in school, I paid other coaches for their time just to talk to them and ask them all of my questions. So, you know, put your best foot forward and do the research before you jump in. Or if you're already in, then I hope you're enjoying it for those that are.
Cool. So we have a question from the audience. She's a sophomore in the Healthy Lifestyle Coaching Lead program. I work at Starbucks since they're paying for my degree, but I'm scared that I won't be able to get a job, even if it isn't a coaching job right away. It pays much more than the minimum wage after I get my degree. Are there short-term, less than 1 year, maybe a year and a half, certifications or trainings I can do other than for other jobs until I can get into coaching full time? Related, is it really hard to get into the field right away after becoming certified? I can answer a little bit of that question. I've been visiting naturopathic doctors around the neighborhood, and several of the naturopathic doctors have hired holistic coaches to be the mentor for their patients to help support them through whatever big changes they're recommending for their patients. So that's a way to kind of plug into holistic medicine after you get your certification. Ladies, any thoughts?
It's more a question for you, I think.
So yes, there are short-term programs. The program I went through was a year. I know the Mayo Clinic, and it's probably 6 months or less. And I know there are programs that are shorter, so that's definitely a possibility. And then, I mean, as far as the jobs, you can just try to get creative. So like Stephanie mentioned, you could try to go and work with a doctor. A lot of coaches go to work at like a chiropractor's office, even like a dietitian, anywhere that might need that, you know, to bridge the gap because the doctor just doesn't have enough time. Otherwise, I mean, it's just something in health and fitness, you know, depending on where, like Stephanie, you're a yoga teacher, you know, anything like that that can kind of pay the bills in the meantime. But, you know, part of getting up and running is just how much work you're willing to put into it. So it can happen faster than it maybe has for some of us or other people. It just depends how much you're willing to do.
Okay. Let's see.
Stephanie, I wanna add something to that. So if Leanne, I think it was Leanne, right? The name of the person that asked the question.
Yes.
If you are going through ASU in the healthy lifestyle coaching and you're getting a bachelor's, pretty much you only have to take an advanced coaching course in order to have the certificate that qualifies you for the national board. So you get a bachelor's, and on top of that, you are able to get a certificate as a health and wellness coach. And then you require 50 coaching sessions in order to qualify for the national board. As it relates to resources to get a job, in our curriculum, we provide resources for students to gauge where they are in their career, and also opportunities for them. I would encourage you to look at career services. There's one of their employees. His name is Eduardo, nickname Lalo. If you send me your information, I can send you his information. And he works very closely with healthy lifestyles coaching students to help them bridge that gap, to sort of navigate and understand job opportunities. And we've also created some partnerships with employers out there for our students. So you can reach out to me and we can help you with that. Okay.
Thank you, Sharon.
You're welcome.
One of the reasons we created the free health integrative holistic and quantum club, the reason that I wanted to bring this to ASU is that there weren't a whole lot of opportunities for students that were into holistic or alternative medicine, didn't want to get into regular medicine. There are like 20 different clubs and organizations that do amazing work to help students that are pre-med get into graduate school for a medical degree. There are 0 clubs that actually help students that want to get into alternative medicine to get into their next step. So that was the original intention for the club, and we're working closer and closer toward that, developing opportunities for the students to have mentorships with practitioners, to have internships in alternative medicine offices, to even opportunities like job opportunities after you graduate. You know, so it's basically a labor of love because I saw the need. I definitely think that this is the way of the future. That more and more students are wanting to get into integrative or alternative medicine. And we need to make a way for them to do it in a way that is rational and actually works.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Any other questions from out there? And here in the room, do you guys have some questions for our panelists? You have a lot of questions.
One
for
question.
us.
Yeah, keep it limited.
What is the most satisfying part of what you do day to day? As far as what is your goals with your people, and are you able to reach those goals?
Yeah, I mean, the simple answer is getting people better. You know, it's my favorite people to work with are people that feel kind of hopeless about what their health situation is. They've seen a wide range of specialists. They've done a lot of self-work. They are willing to put in the effort it takes to get better, but so far it just hasn't worked. And oftentimes a lot of the reason for that is that nobody's taken the time to get to know them as a whole person and identify the cause of what's been going on. Because when you palliate symptoms, the body's going to find another way to tell you that something's wrong. You know, you have a headache, you take a pill to make the headaches go away, you're gonna have upset belly. You take medication for your headache and for your upset belly, but your body's really trying to tell you something's wrong, you're gonna get heart palpitations, you know what I mean? And that's just making that, you know, that
That's how it goes.
cascade up,
Right.
but that, you know, that is sometimes how it works. So I like giving hope to people, and having them, you know, really feel like, oh, I can actually get better. I don't have to live with this. This doesn't have to be part of my story. You know, so many people come in and say, yeah, I have thyroid disease and I have this knee pain and it's always been that way. And I'm just, you know, I'm an overeater and that's the way I am, you know, and I'm like, challenge accepted. You know, we're going to help you like retell your story, because the more that you reinforce that, the more that's exactly what you'll become. And so yeah, people with complicated medical stuff is my favorite, who feel like they're at the end of their rope. Those are the people I like to see.
Yeah, I think being able to help someone change their story, change their mindset, it truly changes their life. And so to witness that over like for me, like it's typically 3 to 6 months that I would work with a client, and to watch them, you know, come to me just totally broken, hopeless, hate their body, hate themselves, and walk away 3 to 6 months later with a whole new outlook on life. And they're not being controlled by food anymore, and they're not crying every day because they weighed themselves and they're upset, and, you know, just helping them take these little steps and watching them achieve it, and they get proud of themselves. And it's just a snowball effect. And it's, I mean, you're truly helping somebody change your life. So on a day-to-day basis, I mean, sure, there's plenty of days where they fail or where they don't want to do the work, and, you know, it gets hard, but almost always it's a pretty awesome outcome.
We have a question from an online group. What are your biggest challenges in your work?
Who's that for? Both of us?
Yeah, probably. So, I mean, a huge challenge running your own business, and I think you would agree, is like finding clientele. That's like, if you fail, it's only on you. There's no one else to blame, and trying to, you know, come up with new ways to market yourself and learn all of that type of stuff is really challenging. Second to that, I think, is when you do have the client that's not doing the work, and they're just, you know, they say that they want it, but they're not doing anything to back it up. And there's nothing that you can do as a coach or as a doctor practitioner to make them do it. And you can't do it for them. And that part gets really challenging, but then it becomes a good challenge that you accept. And it's, you know, really dig in and get in the trenches with them and figure out like the smallest step you can take, and you just push past it. But I would say getting the clients and then the difficult clients are equally challenging.
Yeah. I don't know that I've got much to add to that. That's one of the most difficult things. I think people don't want to disappoint you. So when they come in and say, what you're doing isn't helping, and, you know, I don't feel any better, some of the time that's because they started feeling better so slowly that they didn't notice. And so when you have people rate their symptoms, like, okay, you have these daily headaches, they're a 6 out of 10, 10 being the worst in pain. You have them every day, and now where are you at? They're like, oh, well, actually, I only have it like once in a while, and it's only like a 4 out of 10. So I guess you're right. So you really have to pay attention and find ways to measure, you know, be it on the Likert scale or not, ways of capturing where your patients or your clients are at the time, so that you can be like, nah, you're better. Don't like hold on to that story, you know? Yeah, Joyce.
It's also the concept of the healing crisis.
Mm.
A lot of patients don't realize that sometimes you have to get worse before you get better.
Yeah.
And so in the healing crisis process, they blame the doctor because they think that they're not doing their job.
Mm-hmm.
They don't realize that they're so sick. Sometimes they have to detox, and they have to literally get worse before they really improve.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important to make sure that that's communicated, so that they don't blame the doctor for not, you know, or the health coach for not being on the game.
Yeah. Communicating expectations for your patient and time frame is also a really big deal, because if your patients come in, we're such a society of instant gratification. The patient comes in and they're like, all right, well, it's been 4 weeks. Like, I'm not miraculously better. Like, I've done everything you say, and you're like, oh, well, I should have communicated to you. It's going to take about 3 months for this to fully resolve and for you to, your hormones to be optimized or your gut to heal, whatever it is. So you have to be really clear, like not only come up with a treatment plan and do everything that you're doing, but also tell them how long it's going to take, and then have a conversation about that.
Managing expectations.
Expectations are the killer.
Looks like people are heading out. Bye, Karen. Looks like you already left. Bye, Latanya.
How do you feel about the companies that are screaming healthy lifestyle coach, but don't have any educational background in nutrition coaching, charging $6,000 to $10,000 for conferences to learn coaching information in 6 months or less? I came upon a couple of those.
There's a lot of those.
I called their administration and told them about this national board, and they're like, oh, we didn't even know about that.
Yeah. To me, that's super frustrating, or a really hot thing right now is like a Beachbody person that calls himself a health coach. That's why it is so important. So is everyone on here going to school for this already?
Not everyone. I think a lot of them.
Okay, well, I mean, regardless, it's important to go to an accredited program or school and to go and do the board certification so that it catches on. Like, the national board is working so hard to make it self-known and to kind of get its foot in the door and to make it a requirement so that Joe Schmo off the street that went to a 3-day conference can't call themselves a health coach, because they have no idea what they're doing. And another thing, something that you had said sparked it, just to be aware of. A lot of people get into coaching thinking, oh, cool, I can now just give people diet plans and exercise plans and tell them what to eat. And that's a really big misconception within your scope of practice. So a lot of people get into it because they just love health and wellness and they want to be able to share what's worked for them with somebody else. But unless you have some higher qualification, you cannot be telling people specifically what to eat and how to exercise and things like that. That is not within the scope of practice. And so that's just another thing to be aware of as you get into this, and making sure that you do get the right degree or certification that's going to fit what you really want to do. Sorry, small tangent on the side.
Oh, no, that's okay. She just asked because she said it frustrates me, and some people don't take it real seriously.
I mean, naturopathic medicine is the same thing. We call people that take online courses in naturopathy, they will call themselves naturopaths. And a lot of people don't know the accredited schools. And so you'll think that you're seeing a naturopath because they'll call themselves that. That's like our little abbreviation. We don't always put doctor at the end of it, even though we are doctors. And all of the actual accredited NDs call them undies. Just like as like a somewhat offensive term, like, you're not accredited. You went to an online 6-week college. You did not go to 4 years of medical school. Do not call yourself a naturopath. Don't call yourself a naturopathic doctor. Call yourself something else that like is a qualification that you actually earn. But
that can be a legal issue with your field, right? Because you guys do have much more. And there's only 5 schools that are
5 in the U.S., 2 in Canada.
Okay.
On that same vein, ladies, what experiences have you had here locally with other types of schooling that would lead people to believe that they have more, that they're,
I haven't heard of patients saying anything about another person that they went to see. It might be a friend or Dr. Google or, WebMD. Yeah, but I haven't heard that much from that outside of like family members saying, oh, well, my aunt's sister's cousin said that their doctor told them to take this and this for that. And I'm like, well, I don't know anything about that.
right.
Because people that like do their own research, I'm like, yes, good on you. And also let me give you some like proper resources to access because WebMD is not one of them.
Yeah.
So
I haven't had a lot of probably local experience, but as far as social media, like a lot of coaches find other coaches just to support each other, and a lot of them have zero credential, or they will just like name themselves whatever type of coach they want to be.
Okay.
Which you cannot do.
Right.
So they're like, I want you to be this type of coach today. And I'm like, where did you get that credential? And they'll say, oh, I didn't. I've literally had coaches say like, I just put it on my website. So that is what's really scary. And so people need to do their research. I mean, getting a doctor or a coach and make sure it's legit.
I see someone's face. We haven't seen you.
Hey. We can't see. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
more comments.
Any other questions? I know it's already 8:15. Some of us haven't eaten dinner. I'm just kidding. That was fine. Oh wait, I know. I had soup. I'm good.
Just on the fasting diet.
I'm on it. Getting started.
Well, yeah, and actually we're kind of winding down at the moment. Any questions, please?
Yeah, how do you feel about the like Canadian education versus U.S. education?
It's practically equivalent. We take the same boards.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you, is it a lot cheaper in Canada? Because I know
Oh.
generally. Is a little-
I don't know. I know that it is if you are local. For some reason, Canada has a thing where if you are from Canada, that it's cheaper, kind of like in-state tuition for
Residency.
undergrad. Yeah. But I know that a few of my Canadian colleagues who moved here for school said that it was really expensive here, but they came here for the sunshine and because of our scope of practice, because I think the two Canadian colleges, you might also need to take a separate dual degree to get your licensed acupuncture, but I'm not sure exactly what their curriculum is. Possible to contact Kelly if we have other questions. Totally.
Yep.
Yes,
Yeah, do it.
absolutely. I've got your contact information. I'm not sure if everybody. I'll email.
Well, no, I was curious, so if someone's to come to you, either one of you, and you can answer this separately, what would be like a fee structure that someone could anticipate or expect? And how long would you say engage with them if they were just doing the coaching and not necessarily a patient for all intents and purposes, kind of leaning back towards what she's doing a little bit, is because your scope is so much bigger,
Mm-hmm.
and as far as comparison with what you're getting.
Yeah.
This sounds like more of a question for you.
So coaching, like as far as school goes, like the coaching pricing structure varies tremendously.
Sure.
So you might have a coach that charges $50 for like a 15-minute session, up
15.
50,
Okay.
up to
For how long?
hundreds, 50 minutes.
$50 for 50 minutes.
Yep, but
Okay.
that would be
That would be a
extremely,
minimum?
that's low, yep.
Okay.
And then you could have hundreds of dollars for one session. Personally, I don't understand how a coach can charge more than a doctor or a licensed counselor. So like my schooling said, once you graduate, you should be charging like $200 a session. To me, that's kind of garbage because we just don't have the same credentials to offer. We're doing something totally different. And so every coach prices differently too. It might be per session, it might be per program package. There might be group coaching, one-on-one coaching, done for you, do it yourself program. So there's all kinds of stuff. You could be, from like a $5 thing to thousands and thousands of dollars. So yeah, it really.
Okay, that being said, how would you tell or teach the people that are new to this how to value what they're getting from it?
I think as a coach, you have to find where you're comfortable with what you're going to provide, because again, depending on how much support you're going to give them, all of that contributes to the fee structure, whether it's per package or session. So it really comes down to what you're willing to offer your services for, and you have to be comfortable with it.
I understand that from your perspective, but from the buyer's perspective, what should they be looking for as far as value per dollar?
That's
And how would they know?
I think that's all personal at the end of the day. It depends what you're looking for. Like if you need one-on-one, or if you're okay with a group session, if you need in-between accountability, how much of it, and what are you willing to pay to get that kind of help? Because to have someone on call 24/7 is going to cost a lot of money.
Oh, sure.
You know, so.
As opposed to some kind of concierge thing. I was just kind of looking for, you know, something that you could say, here's a standard for XYZ, and this is pretty normative within the business.
Unfortunately, there's really not a
So there's
standard.
there's not.
No.
So it's really.
I would say you would probably expect to pay $100 to $200 for a session, and that might come with one check-in.
Okay.
For a coach, and you know, just.
And that's reasonable. That's market rate.
Probably.
Okay.
If they went to the right school. Yeah.
Well,
I'm like, it's a really, it's a great
so
area with pricing.
The onus is on the patient or the client to check and make sure that they're getting what they're paying for from whoever they're going to.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no standard that someone has to meet. So it's really like if you were the client, it's what are you offering me? What's the price? Do I think that's worth it? That's all it's kind of based on.
Okay. Well, no,
sadly.
That's why I mean,
yeah.
You know, like, what's reasonable?
Yeah. To me, I think you should not be paying more for a coach than you pay for a doctor, personally. So, and it is a different ballgame when there's no insurance, which like I know for the national board, they're working on getting that piece of it, but that's down the road.
Sure.
So.
Thank you for your candor.
Yeah, sorry that it wasn't a little more specific.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, yeah, we frequently have to, I feel like I'm convincing someone of what the value is of what I do and why it's so much. I'm frustrated with that task because I think if you're unwell enough to the point that you are coming to someone who is a cash-based pay, I shouldn't have to convince you like of
your value.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you've likely done your research. You've likely exhausted a few other options, if not all other options that you're aware of. And, you know, we see people that are somewhat desperate sometimes, and it's not everybody, but, you know, a fair amount of the time. But I of course, like help them understand like, okay, this pays for this, or, you know, this package is this, you're saving this much money. You are in an acute or chronic situation, and so you're going to need this till you're probably better, till we know whether this is a treatment that's going to work for you. And that's a whole other ballgame. Is like some people are incredibly receptive to acupuncture, other people not so much. And so, you know, well, stick with me. You know, I know it's been a month and you don't feel that better, but let's go a different route. You know, and some people don't want to do that. So, if you're paying as much as you're paying, this is part of my intake form, is how willing are you to make the necessary changes in your life in order to feel better? Like how dedicated are you to your own health?
Right.
Because if you don't answer that well, like we're likely not going to be a good fit, because why am I going to waste my time?
Well, you want them to take responsibility for their own health.
Right. And I am your support. I am there to coach you. I am there to educate you. I am there to help you feel empowered about your own health. And I don't, you know, I will answer any question about your health, about the way something works, you know, 100% of the time, and not, you know, look at you like you're stupid. But you have to be interested in that.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
So.
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, team?
I think that might be it.
Sweet.
Okay, well, thank you so much, ladies.
Thanks for being here. Welcome.
Okay.
Online?
Yeah.
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 Okay, we're gonna go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody.
George, if I ever wanted to order, would I go through